Yes po.
At the end of the session, we should be able to describe the benefits of smoking and alcohol cessation, utilize the 5 A's of helping patients quit smoking, demonstrate motivational interview as a counseling technique for smoking and alcohol cessation, and apply your active listening skills in the context of smoking and alcohol cessation. The tobacco epidemic is one of the biggest public health threats the world has ever faced, killing more than 8 million people a year around the world, more than 7 million of those deaths as a result of direct tobacco use, and around 1.2 million as a result of non smokers being exposed to secondhand smoke. This is as reported by the WHO last July 2021. Tobacco use is the leading cause of death, illness, and impoverishment worldwide. It is a risk factor for 6 of the 8 leading causes of death in the world, namely your ischemic heart disease, cerebrovascular disease, lower respiratory infections, COPD, and your trachea, bronchus, and lung CAs, cancers. Smoking is the single largest preventable cause of disease and premature death. So, how come people still smoke or continue to smoke? Smoking is habit forming, and research have shown that tobacco users need help to quit. In this 2015 infographic, the one in your left upper corner, it reports that 6 out of 10 Filipino smokers are actually interested in quitting. According to studies conducted by the WHO, few people understand the specific health risks of tobacco use. And when these smokers become aware of the dangers of tobacco, usually most want to quit. But without cessation support, only 4% of attempts to quit tobacco will succeed. Professional support and proven cessation medications can more than double a tobacco user's chance of successful quitting. Okay. All these infographics are from the different years, no? When they celebrate World No Tobacco Day, no, every 31st of May. This yearly celebration highlights the health risks associated with tobacco use and advocates for effective policies to reduce tobacco consumption. The theme for World No Tobacco Day last year was to commit to quit. For this year, the theme is tobacco, threat to our environment, which aims to give smokers another reason, no, to quit smoking. The WHO recommends 4 key areas for promoting smoke-free individuals or for creating, no, a smoke-free environment. These are to prevent smoking habit initiation, to assess for nicotine dependence, to assess for readiness to quit, and to conduct interventions to help smokers quit. In the Philippines, smoking is initiated as early as school age and peaks at around 15 to 19 years old. Among the factors identified for smoking initiation are the presence of friends who smoke, easy access to cigarettes, from stores and street vendors where even minors are allowed to purchase. And first of all, parental influence. It's usually the parents or older people in the household who actually ask, these children to buy cigarettes for them. So parental influence has a big effect in smoking initiation and even drinking habits of the Filipino youth. It was found that children are less likely to begin to continue to drink or smoke if they think that their parents do not approve of these vices. But if they see that their parents themselves are smokers or are alcoholic beverage drinkers, then it looks like it's okay and they will follow suit. Given these factors, the efforts to preventing the initiation of smoking should be geared towards decreasing the popularity and access to cigarettes, and the school and family involvement in increasing awareness is very important. Uh, and achieving this decrease in popularity can be achieved through proper education and legislation implementation. Educating the youth involves educating the peers in schools and ensuring involvement of parents who bring the influence in the home. Strict implementation of current legislations against the easy access and sale to youth, taxation, and advertisement will also decrease the chances of smoking initiation. It must always be emphasized that smoking is an addiction that once started takes time and conscious effort and practice to quit from. Therefore, there is a great need to take action to eliminate the influences to taking on this habit. So, the best way not to prevent all these problems related to smoking is to not start smoking at all and to prevent smoking among the youth. So um, the next step or the next recommendation is to assess for nicotine dependence. So the effectiveness of identifying smokers and their degree of dependence allows for intervention, but also for appropriate intervention based on their tobacco use status and willingness to quit. The most widely used tool in assessing for nicotine dependence is the Fagerstrom test for nicotine dependence, or the FTND tool. These are a set of questions that we ask smokers, and depending on the score, we would know whether or not the patient is nicotine dependent. We will discuss the Fagerstrom test more later. So why is it difficult for these smokers to quit? Okay, so you have two factors, the nicotine factor and the social factors. So for the nicotine factor, you have tolerance. Okay, so people would continue to smoke and have difficulty quitting the habit because of nicotine tolerance. Okay, so nicotine, the content of your cigarettes, causes pleasant feelings that make the smoker want to smoke. Okay, so nicotine is also a component of your e-cigarettes. So it's there, even if they say that it has a different, they contain different substances. It's that addicting factor for them, nicotine. So smokers increase the number of cigarettes they smoke as the body's nervous system adapts to nicotine. In turn, this increases the amount of nicotine in the blood, causing the cycle of the need to smoke some more. Okay, so after a while, the smoker develops a tolerance to nicotine. Okay, so that means that they would need to take in more nicotine to get the same effect that they used to get from smaller amounts. Okay, so they would need now to increase the amount of smoking over time. The smoker reaches a certain nicotine level and keeps smoking to maintain this level. This is why it becomes addicting, and this is how nicotine dependence happens. As the body becomes dependent on the feel-good effects of nicotine, so dependence takes place, and when the smoker wants to quit or wants to stop smoking, one of the experiences that prevent them from doing so is the withdrawal symptoms. Okay, so another factor why it is difficult to quit smoking is because of these withdrawal symptoms. Okay, so as they cut back on the nicotine intake, the body looks for that certain amount that they have reached. Okay, and if it's not achieved, that's when they experience these withdrawal symptoms. Okay, so it doesn't always happen to everyone, but it usually happens to the chronic smokers or the regular smokers who suddenly cut back or reduce, no? They try to reduce the amount of nicotine in the body. So withdrawal symptoms may last for a few days up to several weeks and usually starts within a few hours of the last cigarette smoke and peaks around about 2 to 3 days after most of the nicotine and its byproducts have been eliminated. Okay, so as soon as these smokers, no, experience the withdrawal symptoms, they don't like the feeling, of course, no, that feel good feeling is better, no, than these withdrawal symptoms. And the only way, no, to address nicotine withdrawal is to take in more nicotine. Okay, so that it's you go back to that cycle again of taking in nicotine and reaching that level of tolerance, no, to so that the withdrawal symptoms are not present. So aside from the substance nicotine, smokers find it difficult to quit because of the social factors, you know, that are attached to the smoking behavior. In surveys done around the late 2000s show that young boys and girls were found to have positive perceptions towards their peers who smoke. And among the adults, no, smoking has a strong emotional aspect where they often link smoking to social activities. Okay, so because of the peer pressure, because of peer exposure, it becomes quitting more difficult. Okay, so going back to the four recommendations, you assess for readiness to quit and conduct interventions to help present smokers quit. Upon assessing a smoker's willingness to quit, you will encounter one of three scenarios, which would require different interventions. So when the smoker is willing to quit, you can use the 5 A's model for treating tobacco use and dependence. If they are unwilling to quit, you can use your motivational interview and your 5 R's. For patients who recently quit, you should reinforce the success at quitting and address any problems that they may or issues they may encounter as they maintain, you know, quitting smoking. So it is always important to acknowledge the patient's success in quitting, okay, and to assist them in resolving any issues, you know, that they may encounter of their uh, because they stopped smoking. So the 5 A's model is a guide that can be used to address tobacco use and dependence and help those who are already willing to quit smoking. So the 5 A's stand for ask, advise, assess, assist, and arrange. For ask, the first, you should always identify and document tobacco use status for every patient at every visit. So every time you see a patient, but that's part of your history taking, you always ask for the personal social history. You always ask for whether or not they smoke, whether or not they drink. Okay, so it's always, no, part of your medical interview. So every time you see your patient, you ask about their smoking status. Okay, so does the patient smoke? So if yes, no, ask about the number of cigarettes smoked in a work day while they are at work or while they are doing something, and the number of cigarettes smoked in a leisure day. Ask about how long they have been smoking and how much, how many sticks per day um, they smoke. Okay, and you should always compute for the pack years. Okay, and the significant number of pack years would tell you whether or not your patient is at risk, no, for medical problems. Okay. Ask for pattern of use and triggers to smoke. So when do they smoke? What usually provokes them to smoke? Ask about smoking upon waking up. So do they have that urge, to smoke within 30 minutes from waking up? Ask about family history of smoking and previous attempts at quitting. Okay. Why do we ask these questions? So later on, you will see that they are part of your Fagerstrom test for nicotine dependence. Okay, so these are the important questions to ask. And these are what you can use to gauge to identify what sort of intervention you need to apply to help this patient quit. Okay, so is the patient a smoker? Yes. Is the patient willing to quit now? If yes, okay, we start them on the appropriate interventions. If the patient is not yet willing to quit, then we do our motivational counseling and promote on the motivation to quit. If your patient is a non-smoker, you have to ask also, did the patient once use tobacco? If yes, then you have to ensure that this patient will not go into relapse. Okay, so first, congratulate the patient for a successful for successfully quitting the bad habit. Okay, and look into issues that this patient may have that may cause a relapse. If the patient has never smoked, then there is no intervention required, and you simply encourage and again congratulate this patient for the continued abstinence from smoking. Part of advice. Okay, so the next A is advice. So always strongly urge your patients who are smokers to quit. Okay, so in a clear, strong, personalized manner, urge every tobacco user to stop smoking. Examples, okay? A clear advice would be stated as, I think it is important for you to quit smoking now, and I can help you. Or cutting down while you are ill is not enough. Okay, so clear, the message is clear. You have to stop. For strong, you can say, as your clinician, I need you to know that quitting smoking is the most important thing you can do to protect your health now and in the future. The clinic staff and I will help you. Another way is to make it personal. So give them a personalized advice. So encourage the patient to indicate why quitting is personally relevant. Now, be as specific as possible. So you may need to link his tobacco use, his or her tobacco use to the current health or illness of the patient, the social and economic costs of smoking, the readiness to quit, depending on their motivational level, or the impact of tobacco use on the family, their children, and others in the household. You may also include the impact of tobacco use on the environment. Okay, so the different environmental problems that come with smoking. When you give advice, you may emphasize on risks and rewards of quitting. Okay, so for rewards, these are the ones on the left. Left ba? My left. Okay, so the rewards, so improved health, food will taste better, improved sense of smell, save money saving, you feel better about yourself, your home, car, clothing, and breath will smell better. You can stop worrying about quitting. You can set a good example for children. You can have healthier babies and children. You don't have to worry about exposing others to your cigarette smoke. You feel better physically. You perform better in physical activities, and you will have reduced wrinkling or aging of the skin. But most importantly, it decreases the excess risk of many diseases related to smoking. So not just the risk involved when you smoke, but the risk also on other people exposed to your smoking. Okay. Furthermore, it reduces the chance of impotence, difficulty getting pregnant, no? Premature births, babies with low birth weights, and even miscarriages. Okay, so for the risks, I will leave that to you for you to read. Okay, but that's part of your advice, not telling them or informing them about the rewards of quitting and also the risks of smoking or continuing to smoke. You may also include the benefits of smoking cessation over time. Okay, so within minutes, so after 20 minutes of quitting, your heart rate and your blood pressure drops. So if this patient is also hypertensive, then we should emphasize on the fact that his or her smoking contributes to elevated blood pressure. 12 hours after quitting, your carbon monoxide levels in the blood drop to normal. 2 weeks to 3 months after quitting, your circulation improves and your lung function increases. 1 to 9 months after quitting, your coughing and shortness of breath decrease. The tiny hair, the cilia in your lung structures can move freely, okay, and you begin to regain normal function in your lungs. 1 year after quitting, the excess risk of coronary heart disease becomes half than that of a smoker. 5 years after quitting, your stroke risk is reduced to that of a non-smoker. 10 years after quitting, the lung cancer death rate is about half that of a person who continues smoking. And the risk of cancer, the mouth, throat, esophagus, bladder, cervix, and pancreas decrease as well. And 15 years after quitting, the risk of coronary heart disease is the same as that of a non-smoker. Okay, so the benefits of smoking cessation through time. Some may have previously attempted to quit but have failed. And some are afraid to quit because of stories they hear about quitting. So some continue to smoke because of misled beliefs about smoking or the sensation that they get from smoking. So it is therefore important to probe and explore for any emotionally critical misperceptions that may contribute to their continued smoking or the emotionally critical misperceptions that they may have about quitting. And of course, to appropriately correct these identified emotionally critical misperceptions. For the third A, assess. Okay. Assess for or determine the following: the smoker's willingness to make a quit attempt or the smoker's readiness to quit, the smoker's level of nicotine dependence using the Fagerstrom test, any previous quit attempts, the presence of any psychiatric comorbidities, for example, anxiety, depression, or even psychosis, or a history of other substance abuse, alcohol abuse, or drug abuse. In assessing the motivation to quit, we make use of the stage of change, also known as the Chance theoretical model of change. Okay? So we will discuss this also further later on. Okay, so the stages of change starts with the pre-contemplation stage, moving on to the contemplation, determination, action, relapse, action, and maintenance. Okay, so sometimes there is relapse for smokers who are unable to quit. Okay, and there is a termination phase when the smoker is able to completely quit smoking, or the relapse may cause an exit or re-entry at any stage of the stages of change model. So, nasa action na siya, bigla siya mag-relapse, babalik siya sa re-contemplation. So let us talk about the Fagerstrom test that can help you assess the level of nicotine dependence of a smoker. So the test identifies whether or not additional intervention is required for this patient. So for your Fagerstrom test consists of 6 questions. And the first question is, how soon after you wake up do you smoke your first cigarette? Okay, so you give your patient a score depending on the answer. So within 5 minutes, that's a score of 3. From 6 to 30 minutes, that's a score of 2. And after an hour or after 60 minutes, that's a score of 0. Do you find it difficult to refrain from smoking in places where it is forbidden? For example, in the church, in the library, in the cinema, in schools, in public places, ideally, di ba? But we see a lot of people still smoking in public. No, but there is a law, no, that should be, it's being implemented, but it's not it's not being followed, and not to smoke in public. Okay, so if the patient has difficulty refraining from smoking, that you give a score of 1. If there's no difficulty in smoking, they can wait until they are in a more private place, then that's a score of 0. Which cigarette would you hate most to give up? Now, the first one in the morning, now that's 1 point, and all others, that's 0. How many cigarettes per day do you smoke? Okay, so 10 or less, 0, 11 to 20, 1 point, 21 to 30, 2 points, 31 or more, that's 3 points. Do you smoke more frequently during the first hours of waking than during the rest of the day? So yes is 1 point, no is 0. And do you smoke even if you are so ill that you are in bed most of the day? So even if they're sick, no, they still manage to smoke. Then yes, 1 point, no, 0 point. So you add all the scores together, okay, and based on these scores, we characterize the degree of dependence. So 0 to 2, very low, 3 to 4, low, 5, medium, 6 to 7, high, and 8 to 10, very high. So scores higher than 7 indicate nicotine dependence. And later on, we will discuss now why it's important to identify the level of nicotine dependence. So 7 out of 10 already indicates nicotine dependence. Ask about previous quit attempts and any psychiatric comorbidities and substance abuse. Why do you want to know these things? No, because it dictates the ability of this person to actually quit smoking. So smokers who have the following are said to have more difficulties quitting. So those with symptoms of substance dependency, those with comorbidities such as history of depression, anxiety, schizophrenia, history of substance abuse, alcoholism, drug abuse, those with stressful life circumstances, or anticipated major life changes. It will be more challenging to get them to quit and may even require a multidisciplinary team effort for this patient to actually succeed in smoking cessation. Higher abstinence rates can be seen in patients with the motivation to quit, those who are ready to quit within a month, and those who are confident in their ability to quit. So the fourth, A, is assist. With assist, you simply aid the patient in quitting, and you do this by providing counseling if needed. You can start them with tapering. Okay, if your Fagerstrom test is 7 or higher, meaning there is nicotine dependence, you may need to start your patients on nicotine replacement therapy, so available in patch, gum, and spray. And your medications, available as in the Philippines, so it's varenicline that we have. But the other medication that can be used to reduce nicotine dependence is bupropion. Okay, so that's the importance of identifying your level of nicotine dependence, because those with Fagerstrom score of 7 or higher, or those with known nicotine dependence, parang it will be more effective if you, along with counseling, start them on nicotine replacement therapy. So offer help based on the identified stage of change. So where are they now? Are they willing to quit? Are they not willing to quit at all? Are they thinking about it? Are they planning? Okay, so where are they? And what do you do, in each stage? Okay, so you continue your counseling, especially for those who are not yet decisive or have not decided to quit. Refer them to support groups, additional help, so that they are encouraged, to maintain smoking, quitting state, or they are encouraged to quit smoking. Okay, so they can either be referred to another person for counseling, or they can follow up with you and you can continue with helping this patient quit. Okay. So for patients unwilling to quit, you can help them by doing your motivational counseling. Okay, so patients or persons or smokers who are unwilling to quit are said to be in the stages of change, in the pre-contemplation and contemplation stage. Okay, so it's motivational counseling. So motivational counseling is an evidence-based practice in the treatment of individuals with substance use disorders. That's why I said that this can also be used for patients with problems with alcohol use, and maybe to an extent those with problems with drug use. Okay. Motivational counseling in general is used for interventions requiring behavior change. The 5 general principles in motivational interview is to express empathy through reflective listening, discuss discrepancies between clients' goals or values and their current behavior, avoid arguments and direct confrontation, adjust to the client's resistance rather than opposing it directly, and supporting self-efficacy and optimism. Okay, so recognize the client's strengths and bring these to the forefront whenever possible. So self-efficacy, or their feeling or their knowledge that they can make the change, is a critical component of behavior change. Okay, so very important in motivational counseling to be supportive, okay, to empathize and to listen to the patient's issues regarding quitting, to identify discrepancies, between what they are saying and what they are doing. Okay, so their goals, their values, and their behavior. Okay, and not pushing them to quit, but supporting them and encouraging them as much as you can, so that they will have that realization themselves, so that they need to quit. Motivational counseling is designed to stimulate the patient's desire to change, okay? And at the same time, give them the confidence to do so. So how do you identify this different stage of change? Okay, so you have your pre-contemplation stage. So here, the patient is not ready to quit or does not recognize that there is a problem. So in smokers, they don't recognize that smoking is a problem. Okay, so the patient has no intention or desire to stop smoking in the foreseeable future, usually in the next 6 months, and they are usually unaware that their behavior is problematic or produces negative consequences. Okay, so people in this stage often underestimate the pros of changing behavior and place too much emphasis on the cons of changing the behavior. Okay, so mas tinitignan nila yung mga possible effects of quitting rather than the benefits of quitting. Okay, your contemplation stage, no, the patient recognizes smoking as a problem and is considering already quitting. Okay, so here time is not defined, but usually, no, there is that contemplation already to stop or to quit within the next 6 months. Okay, so you already have a concerned smoker thinking of quitting someday. Okay, so there is that urge to start the healthy behavior within the next 6 months because they have already recognized, no, that their behavior or the smoking is problematic. Okay, so they are thinking now of the pros and cons of changing the behavior or the pros and cons of quitting, now rather than just looking into the cons. Okay, so even if there is that recognition that they need to change, they are still ambivalent or they are still not that convinced, that they need to change. But at least they are already thinking about it. So that's your contemplation stage. Your preparation, you have a patient, a smoker who is seriously committed already. So they have a plan or they plan to stop or quit within the next 2 weeks. Okay, so there is already determination to stop. Okay, so there is that urge, no, to quit within the next 2 weeks. Some say 2 weeks, some say 30 days. So 2 to 4 weeks. So basta within that month, no, the patient is determined to stop already. And they already accept and believe that changing their behavior will lead to a healthier life or will do them good. Then you have your action phase or action stage. Okay, so action, the patient has actually initiated or has already quit smoking. Okay, so from day one of not smoking up to at least less than 1 month of quitting is considered the action phase or the action stage. Okay, and the patient, no, intends to move forward, with that behavior change by modifying, no, any behavior or any problem that may cause relapse. Okay, so from the action stage, you have your maintenance. Okay, so your maintenance stage, here the patient is actually able to quit smoking and, no, the healthy behavior is sustained for more than 1 month to up to 6 months. Okay. So the goal here is to prevent relapse, okay, to maintain the behavior change. Okay, so some, no, go into relapse, no, as mentioned, and some are able to quit completely. So smokers that are able to quit entirely enter the termination stage. Okay, but those who relapse or go back to smoking, no, can either re-enter, no, the pre-contemplation, contemplation, preparation, or action ulit. Susubukan ulit. Nag-relapse, but no, they will quit smoking again. Okay, and that's your different stages of change. The idea behind the motivational counseling or looking into the change of the stage of change, is to assess where the smoker is at a particular visit, and from one stage, encourage at least the patient to move to the next stage. So if you catch the patient at the pre-contemplation stage, then your goal, is not to totally get the patient to quit immediately, but at least, to have them, from not really thinking about quitting to at least thinking about quitting. Okay, or better yet, from not thinking at all to seriously thinking about quitting. Okay, so the idea there is to encourage the patient, to move from one stage to the next, at their own pace, when they are ready already. So you're not supposed to force them, to change. So they have to realize on their own that change is necessary. Otherwise, you expect relapse. So the important the important thing there or the goal there is self-efficacy. They have to believe that they can change. They have to believe that they need to change. Right? So what questions should you ask to identify what stage your patients are in? Okay, so ask about their readiness to change. Where are you in terms of smoking? Are you really not thinking about changing? Are you thinking about it? Are you willing to make a change? For patients who are not ready to change, so we identified them as being in the pre-contemplation stage. Your goal here is to raise their awareness about the pros and cons of quitting. Okay, so when they quit, you mentioned that the rewards of quitting and the risks of continued smoking. Okay, so your task is to inform and to encourage change. Okay, so we said earlier, in studies, no, that if smokers are more aware of the problems that come with smoking, and if they believe that these problems exist, or they accept that these are problems, you try to pattern your what's happening to them. You correlate what's happening to them to their smoking. Okay? And if they have that realization already, then they will be more motivated to quit. Okay, so when they are not yet ready to change, or they are in the pre-contemplation stage, then just inform and encourage. If they are still unsure about change, or they are still in the contemplation stage, okay, then your task is to build importance. Importance is why do they need to quit? Okay, why do they have to stop smoking? Okay, and build their confidence. So what do they think is the roadblock? Why do they think it will be difficult for them to quit? Okay, or where is the hesitation to quit coming from? Okay, so explore why they are not yet thinking about quitting, or explore any issues that they may have about quitting. Okay, so again, highlight the pros and cons of smoking cessation. Okay, so pre-contemplation to contemplation. Okay, remember the goal of motivational counseling, to improve the motivation to change from one stage to a higher level of behavior change. Okay, so when the tobacco user is not yet contemplating on stopping, or is still not ready to quit, okay, so make them become aware of and knowledgeable of the disadvantages of smoking. When they are already thinking about it but are not yet quite ready to quit, make the tobacco user become aware and knowledgeable of the benefits of quitting. Okay, so if they're not thinking about it, highlight on the bad effects or the disadvantages of smoking. When they are thinking about it already but are not quite convinced yet to quit, okay, highlight the benefits of quitting. Okay, so use your 5 R's and the decision balance stick. So the 5 R's, your relevance, risks, rewards, and roadblocks. So relevance, encourage the patient to indicate why quitting is personally relevant. So again, emphasis on the correlation between what's happening to them now, or what's happening to a loved one, and their smoking. What's happening to their work, what's happening to their daily lives because of smoking. Risks, ask the patient to identify potential negative consequences of tobacco use. Okay, so for them, what are the risks involved if they continue to smoke? Okay. Rewards, what are the potential benefits of quitting or stopping tobacco use? And roadblocks, what are the possible barriers or impediments to their quitting? Okay, the last R is repetition. Okay, so motivational intervention, again, encouraging them to move from one stage to the next, should be repeated every time an unmotivated patient no, has an interaction with the clinician. So tobacco users who have failed in previous quit attempts should be told that most people make repeated quit attempts before they actually become successful. So it's okay, no, that there is a relapse. What is important is they're willing to continue with their behavior change. So studies have shown that physician advice, no, increases the chance of quitting successfully in 84% of cases. Okay, so the mere fact that you mention that quitting is beneficial to them or quitting is the best thing that they can do for themselves or for their loved one, that increases already their motivation to change to as high as 84%. Okay, that's why it's important na to ask, but in every clinic visit, to ask them about their smoking and to encourage them or to mention that they have to quit and that you can help them or you can advise them about quitting. So the 5 R's can be used and the decision balance. So they're both, no? These are all part of your motivational counseling. Okay? So the decision balance is a more structured way of doing your motivational counseling. Okay, so here you use the knowledge and experiences of the tobacco user as the basis for your counseling. Okay, and with the decision balance, you enhance the motivation to change and you also clarify issues about change. So this is your decision balance. So it involves 4 questions. Okay, so you just ask your patient to answer them. And when you ask them to answer, you should not be content with just 1 or 2 answers. They have to exhaust all possible answers. Okay, is this done in one sitting? It's up to you, no? Usually counseling talaga naman, you have to set time for counseling. But you can give it as a homework muna. Okay, so I have 4 questions here that I'd like you to answer, and we will talk about it when you come back. Okay, so what are the four questions? No, you ask them about the benefits of smoking. So, what do you like about smoking? What do you get from smoking? And what are your reasons for smoking? Okay, next, you probe the hazards of smoking. So, what, if anything, concerns you about the effects of smoking on your health, your family, your work, the environment, so all of this. So, what are the cons of smoking or what are the hazards of smoking? Okay. Third question, probe the knowledge or hearsay about issues of quitting smoking. What are their concerns about quitting? What do you hear about problems in quitting smoking or what issues do you have in mind if you were to quit smoking? Okay, so what roadblocks does the patient have with regards to smoking? Okay, and probe the benefits of quitting smoking. So in what way would you benefit from quitting smoking? Or how do you think your medical problem would improve or your family problem would improve or your work related problems improve if you were to quit? Okay, so be as specific as possible in your answers. Okay, so you want to probe these things because you want to discuss concerns, issues, and thoughts that are relevant to the patient. So if it comes from him or her, it comes from the smoker, these are things that they believe in. And it's up to you to look at whether or not the answers of the patient are congruent, if if there are discrepancies, no? For example, benefits of smoking versus hazards of smoking. So some patients would say smoking helps them work, no, but also, no, when they smoke a lot, they feel sick. When they're sick, they can't go to work. So there's a discrepancy there. Ano ba talaga? It helps you work or it adds, no, to the problems that you feel sick or you get sick and you are unable to work. So which one is it? Okay, so you are to look for relevance and discrepancies in your patient's answers. Okay, so that's basically it. Okay, so you highlight the discrepancy between the patient's present behavior, their expressed priorities, values, and goals. Okay, and you talk about, you know, what is important to them. You talk about the what what they've written, whether they are congruent, whether they are discrepancies. Okay. And with these answers and with the discussion regarding their answers, you reinforce and support change talk, and commitment language. Okay, so based on what you wrote, is that enough for you to commit to change, commit to quit? Okay, and you know, as you discuss his answers, you build and deepen the commitment to change. So how do you challenge discrepancies? So you use your confrontation skills, your active listening skills. Diba? So you said that smoking gives you, so what did the patient answer? But you also mentioned that smoking causes this and that. Which one is it? Clarify issues about change. So you don't force them to change, but you lower their resistance to change. Okay, so what is most important in your life now? What is the most important reason to smoke? What is the most important reason to quit? For example, is smoking and reducing stress more important than being healthy so you can continue to earn for your family? Okay, so if the patient mentions, diba, that smoking helps them work because it gives them that feeling that they are less stressed, or whenever they smoke, they are less stressed. Okay, but again, is that more important, that sensation of feeling less stressed, than the medical problems that comes with smoking? Which one talaga? So as mentioned, do not force them, but just roll with the resistance. So back off. Okay, every time if you see that the patient is still not ready or cannot see, you highlighted discrepancies already, but for some reason, they still cannot accept, but they still feel that the stress relief from smoking is more important than no, or that they are, because they are stress free, they are able to work, and being able to work, they can provide more for the family. Okay, so if there is that, then back off. Use reflection skills. Okay, when the patient expresses resistance. Okay, so you are worried about how you would manage withdrawal symptoms. You're worried about what to do or how to manage your stress if you start, quitting. Okay, so would it be okay for me to highlight? So you just mentioned the problem with stress, but can I highlight the benefits of quitting smoking, or the rewards that you can have if you quit smoking? Yeah. So ask permission to provide information, ask permission to provide additional strategies that can help them address these concerns that they have raised. Okay, so if smoking is their stress relief, what can be an alternative way for them to reduce their stress while they are working? So if it's not going to be smoking, then what can we advise, or what can we give as alternative? Okay, so sometimes you ask them, diba, what do you think? It's a good alternative. Okay, and because it came from them, again, diba, mas madali for them to follow because it was their idea in the first place. So you just have to encourage, okay, to support self-efficacy, to help the patient identify and build on, past successes, how they were able to achieve some other hindrances, for example, or some other obstacles that they were able to endure or to hurdle. Okay, so if wala or mahirap, then offer options for achievable small steps towards these changes. Okay. Always provide hope and possible help. So summarize key points regarding the session, emphasize on the discrepancies and the response of the patient, acknowledge the issues, the problems of the patient in relation to quitting, but always also help them identify solutions. Okay, help them identify um, you know, alternatives, what they can do in lieu of these smoking. Okay, or how else can they address the issues that they um, came up with or the issues that they present. Lastly, now we summarize. So we talked about your issues about quitting, enumerate the issues. What you decide to do about smoking is entirely your decision, no, but I can help you further if you would like me to. Okay, so it's not a quick process, it's not a one-day thing, okay, but I'm here to support you, I'm here to help you until you become successful in quitting. Okay, so in discussing the patient's issues, in discussing the patient's concerns, in probing emotionally critical misperceptions that require correcting, your active listening skills are always an important, they're important to use so that you can facilitate um, opening up so the patient can tell you more about what's really happening in the decision balance sheet or in motivational interview counseling or motivational counseling, confrontation, interpretation, reflecting, and probing are the most important skills to use. Okay. So when the tobacco user has managed to move from pre-contemplation to contemplation, then how do you help them maintain, or how do you help them continue? They have managed to quit. How do they remain? Or how do you prevent relapse? Or how do you get them to quit entirely? Okay, so you've already managed to convince them to quit. What do they do now? Now, what's the next step? Okay, so your patient has moved from contemplation to the planning stage. So they intend to quit within the next 2 to 4 weeks. Okay. So how do you motivate them to actually proceed with the action or proceed to quitting? Okay. So the first thing to do is to set the quit date. Okay. So tell them to identify when they plan to quit. Okay, so mark it on the calendar, okay, and make a big deal out of it. So tell friends and family about that date, okay, and tell them about what you're planning to do, your concerns about it, and set up a support system, composed of their family, the peer or support groups, and any other previous quitters that can help them manage all those symptoms or manage all those fears about quitting. So anticipate withdrawal symptoms. Tell them about it. In the first few days, you might feel this. Okay, so you expect this until a couple of months, but later on, when the symptoms become unbearable, you just tell me and we'll do something about it. Okay, get them to remove triggers. Okay, and reminders for the patient. So for them to avoid relapse. So ano nga ba yung mga identified triggers? What gets them to smoke? What are the events, the situations, circumstances, or is it the going out and then staying with friends? So they should avoid all these other peers who still smoke, because of course while they are there they will be encouraged to smoke again, so magre-relapse talaga siya. So they have to be reminded to avoid those situations that might trigger them or get them to smoke again. Okay. And get them to track their progress. So parang day-by-day progress. Okay, so day 1, this is what happened. Day 2, this is what happened. Week 1, okay, so you can actually have, ano nga eh, para milestones or achievements, no? It can be a daily, weekly, monthly achievement thing. So it's depends on what your patient wants and what your discussions will be regarding that. Okay, so talk to them about the possible nicotine withdrawal symptoms. So craving, of course, because of the, ano nga, di ba? The dependence or that sensation, the feel-good sensation that they get from smoking. So there is that craving. Okay, so how will they address the craving, the anxiety, the possible irritability, frustration, anger? Kasi they want something, di ba? Parang as all addicting, substances, addicting things. But when you don't get them, or you don't get that feeling, that sensation, you get frustrated, you get irritable. So how do they go about that? How will he manage that? Okay. There could be difficulty concentrating. Kasi nga you're distracted, with that feeling that you need to smoke. Okay. There could be restlessness. Some report increased appetite and even weight gain. Kasi they replace smoking with eating. Okay, so how will they manage that? You don't eat yung mga nakakataba. You can chew on vegetables. So cut vegetables. Ganyan. So yung mga healthy pa din. So that you don't gain weight. Maybe divert your attention. If you feel irritable, if you feel the craving, the anxiety, maybe change it to a different behavior. Something that you can do. Exercise, walking, biking. So doon mo na lang ibuhos, okay, your frustrations. Okay, you may experience decreased heart rate, but it's only because with the nicotine, you become tachycardic. But as soon as, sabi nga natin, 20 minutes later, after quitting, you expect your heart rate to actually go back to normal. So it's not really decreased heart rate, but going back to the normal levels. There may be disrupted sleep, depressed mood, and dizziness. So these are just some of the nicotine withdrawal symptoms that your patients may encounter. But the important thing there is to enumerate them, and in case any of those would take place or would happen, what can the patient do? Okay, so how do you address cravings and withdrawals? Okay, so these are the most important clinical phenomena connected to smoking cessation, sabi nila. Okay, so relief of cravings and withdrawal is often thought to mediate the clinical effect of treatment on abstinence. Okay, so how? Again, alternatives. Okay, and help them identify these alternatives. So decide on a plan. Remember, the Fagerstrom test for nicotine dependence score. So if the score is less than 7, then motivational counseling plus support systems may be enough. But for those who are nicotine dependent or who have a score of 7 and above, they may require intensive counseling, support systems, and even medications. Okay, so counseling and medication are effective for treating tobacco dependence. And you have these different nicotine replacement therapies available. Okay. So I mentioned what is available in the Philippines. You have your gum, you have your varenicline. I think you have the patch na rin. Okay, but inhaler, nasal spray, and bupropion, I have not yet seen in circulation. Pero very, si varenicline is already available. So when your patient is already in the action and maintenance stage, so the first 6 months from the quit date is the action stage, and 6 months to 5 years after quitting is the maintenance phase. Okay, so if they are able to avoid relapse from 6 months to 5 years, then they are already in the maintenance phase. Okay, so the danger is always relapse. So when encountering a recent quitter, you should always probe and initiate patient problem solving. Okay, so how is it so far, so that they have stopped or quit smoking? How are they faring, or what are the, again, no, what are the issues or concerns that they have been encountering? Okay, what are the difficulties that they have encountered? Okay, and again, no, what advice can you give, or how do you help them through these difficulties? Okay, so every ex-tobacco user undergoing relapse prevention should receive congratulations on any success, okay, and strong encouragement to remain abstinent. Okay, so like I said, di ba, kailangan meron kang mga milestones for them so that they remain abstinent. No? In most common, di ba, in alcohol cessation, your alcohol support groups, di ba, they give them these coins that commemorate the number of years that they have actually been able to be abstinent from drinking. So it's the same thing. You know, you can do with smoking. And as I mentioned, it could be a daily reward na simple lang, weekly reward. No? You can give them stickers, star, anything that can mark, no, that milestone that they were able to maintain, no, that abstinence from smoking. Okay, so some patients that go into relapse, no, have these daw, no, rationalizations. Okay, so sometimes they would say, ngayon lang, para lang mawala yung sakit ng katawan o para lang mabawasan yung hindi magandang pakiramdam from the withdrawal symptoms. Yan, so mag-relapse na yan. Or they will postpone their quit date. So they've already set a quit date, but for some reason, nauurong ng nauurong. Sa end of the week na lang. Next month na lang. Bago na lang magpasko. So yan, magre-relapse na yan. Mahirap kasi nakasanayan na pagkatapos kumain. Okay, so habit. They still cannot cannot break the habit. Okay, so hindi pa rin nila hindi pa sila ready to quit, ibig sabihin. Okay? And sometimes they would even say, no, yung tatay ko nga nabuhay hanggang tumanda kahit nagsisigarilyo. So hindi, no, hindi relevant sa kanila yung health maintenance or yung, you know, the health benefits of quitting because they have that rationalization. So again, just encourage, just keep informing them, no? Try to correct these emotionally critical misperceptions that they may have. Try to explore, no? Bakit kaya bukas ng bukas ng bukas ng bukas? Baka feeling nila di nila kaya. Okay, so you have to encourage them some more. You have to develop in them self-efficacy, and you have to bring them up to that challenge, no, that they can do it. Okay? Mahirap yung nakasanayan na o anong pwedeng ipalit? Diba? Or, diba? Ano ba ulit yung mas importante sa kanila? No? Yung sensation after kumain, yung nasanayan na yon, or again, the benefits of quitting. So again, no, looking into the discrepancies or highlighting the discrepancies, no, with continuing to smoke, no, and the stated benefits of smoking cessation. Okay, so some tips for preventing relapse. So avoid, alter your habits, come up with alternatives, no, and have other activities that can keep, you know, keep you busy so that you don't think of smoking. Okay, so encourage active discussion of the following. Again, the health benefits of quitting. Okay, the success that the patient has had in quitting. Okay, so okay lang yan, no? Naka 2 months ka, you can do it again. You can do it longer. Okay lang yan, at least from 20 sticks, no? We're now at 5. That's a feat already. So just continue. No? Let's aim for 0. Yeah. So discuss the problems encountered or the anticipated threats to maintaining abstinence. Okay, so mas masama talaga pakiramdam ko pag hindi ako nakakasigarilyo or No? Parang mas gumulo yung mundo ko nung hindi na ako nagsisigarilyo. So explore, probe. Is it really that's causing all of this? Or are there other reasons, no? Why that these things are happening? So is it really connected to their quitting? So explore. Okay. So interventions for the patient who has already quit. Okay. How do you maintain and again prevent relapse? Okay. So discuss the problems that they have encountered. So these are the common problems now encountered by former smokers, which you need to take up with these recent quitters. Okay, so the lack of support. So if that is a problem, not kasi I want to quit, no, but my wife still smokes. Or I want to quit, but in the office they're all still smoking. So paano nga ba? Okay, so sino yung hindi nagsusmoke at doon ka na lang sumama? Okay? Or ikaw, no? As a doctor, you can ask your secretary, you can ask your nurse, no, to every now and then, no? So sige, every 3 days I will, no, while we're starting this journey, I will ask my secretary to check on you every 3 days, no? Just to encourage you. Okay? Or yun nga, sino ba sa workplace ninyo or sa bahay ninyo ang pwede mong maging kakampi so that you are able to maintain your smoking abstinence. Okay? So you may even refer this patient to an organization that offers cessation counseling or support. Okay. Again, side effects of abstinence, the negative mood, the depression. So again, you can do your counseling, discuss what's really causing the depression. Is it really coming from quitting? No? So you can either do the counseling yourself or refer. No? Baka this patient requires already additional psychological intervention or psychiatric intervention. For patients with strong or prolonged withdrawal symptoms, you may consider extending the use of pharmacotherapy, so your bupropion or your varenicline, or adding or combining other medications and other nicotine replacement therapies to help the patient overcome these strong withdrawal symptoms. Ako ba yun? Or do I refer this patient now to maybe a toxicologist or maybe someone who is more adept at with this, yung mga behavior change or and substance abuse problems. Okay, weight gain, again, encourage increased physical activity, discourage strict dieting, reassure the patient that some weight gain after quitting is common and appears to be self-limiting. So they just really have to find alternatives na. If they have that feeling that they have to munch every now and then or they have to replace. Kasi smoking, di ba, nasa mouth. So minsan, they need something else. So baka candy ng candy or baka may iba kain ng kain nga. So what alternatives are there so that they don't have that feeling or they don't need. So again, alternative healthy foods. Pwede pa rin naman, nasa bibig lang, pero healthier foods. Okay? Less of the sweets. Okay? So emphasize the importance of a healthy diet and maintain on pharmacotherapy, which is known to delay weight gain. Okay? But again, if you are adept at using these pharmacotherapies as nicotine replacement therapies for your patients. Okay? So you may want to refer the patient to a specialist or a program that can manage or deal with these withdrawal symptoms and these problems. Okay. So smoking lapses, so you can use your medications, encourage another quit attempt if ever the patient relapsed. Okay. And again, reassure that quitting may take time and may take multiple attempts. Okay. And they may use that a lapse as a learning experience. So what happened ba? Ba't napayosi siya ulit? No? Bakit niya na-break yung kanyang abstinence? Okay, so because of that reason, no, she should try with conscious effort, no, not to be in that situation again. Okay, so because the patient has relapsed, they may require now more intensive counseling. Okay, so smokers can and do quit smoking. Okay, so you can encourage your patient by saying there are actually more former smokers than current smokers. Okay, and this is a known fact. Okay. So lastly, arrange. Okay, so these patients would require regular and close follow-up, regular feedback until their goals are achieved, and regular family and peer support. Okay, so encourage family support at all times and peer support. Okay, so as mentioned, if the patient has successfully quit smoking at least 5 years, then that is already the termination phase. So the patient has achieved the termination stage. There is zero temptation to relapse, and there is 100% confidence in the ability to maintain the new behavior. This is my last slide. So common myths and facts on smoking. Okay, so a common myth is that a very brief discussion regarding smoking cessation is not effective. So I mentioned already earlier, di ba? A physician's advice to quit is an important motivator for attempting to stop smoking. And the mere mention that the patient has to quit no, if this advice comes from a physician, will motivate them really to stop smoking. So, hindi man kagad, mapapaisip na sila. Okay? And another myth is that most smokers do not want to quit. So at least 60% of smokers are at least thinking about quitting or are prepared to quit. But the problem na is they don't know how, they don't know why. Okay, so it's very important na to explore all these possible hindrances in their smoking cessation. Okay. So do you have any questions?
None po.
So for your practice session, I think Dr. Oxon will be uploading your case protocol. Has she uploaded it already? And the checklist for your no questions? So for your motivational counseling, you will be using the decision balance sheet. Okay, and you will be given cases of patients, whether in the, I don't know if it's the pre-contemplation or contemplation phase, pero yun yung dalawa. Or maybe the different stages. I'll have to look to double check. Does anyone know? Have you seen your cases? Not yet.
Not yet po.
Okay. So I'll ask Dr. Oxon. Okay. No more questions?
Wala na po.
Okay. Sige. There are no more questions.